The forest is, you get up in here, it's quiet, birds are singing, it's peaceful, the air smells good. It's just a refreshing type of thing. And anything that we can do to make that experience more pleasant or safer indeed in a lot of instances for the public, we're happy to do that. Because of the shortage of the staff that the Forest Service has, if you're hiking one of the trails in the Sandias here and you come to where a tree has been cut off, I would be comfortable saying it's 95% chance it was one of our volunteers that probably removed it. My wife and I both retired from the state government back in 1998. And we'd always been active up here on the mountain. In fact, we had our first date up here. I'm spending no money at all. We're just going to go for a hike.
I spent, 8 or 9 years after I retired hiking all over these mountains up here. And somebody was keeping the trails clear for me to hike the mountains. And so 3 or 4 years ago, I decided it was my time to give back.
We were out on Domingo Baca Trail one day, and we would carry bags and pick up trash and stuff like that just because we thought that was a neat thing to do. And we ran into a couple out there who kept seeing us all the time. And they said, well, you guys are out here all the time. Why don't you become a volunteer?
I've been involved with Friends of the Sandia Mountains since 2002, when my husband and I responded to an announcement that volunteers were needed to greet visitors to the National Forest. We had always planned on volunteering in some capacity in the Sandias after we retired from full-time work. We were both full-time workers back then, and we saw it as a fantastic opportunity because we could do it on weekends. And we kind of got hooked on this idea of being able to do something on weekends.
I've been a member of Friends of Sandias for probably 6 or 7 years. I worked I was an oral surgeon here in town for many years, and when I started to taper my practice down, I decided I needed something else to do. So I volunteered for FOSM.
I called around and talked to 2 or 3 people. I talked to people who were doing the trail building. I talked to people who were doing the Monday trail clearing. I decided to join the Monday trail clearing. I did that for a couple of years until I found I was having trouble keeping up with them. So now I work with Sam on the Wednesday crew. We do various things, including felling hazard trees, which we did yesterday.
I've been a skier for many years. I've skied in the Sandias for 40 years. Cross-country skied, downhill skied. That's just kind of how I'm wired. I like to get out and do things like that. And when you're working in the woods, whatever you're doing, you're getting exercise. You're breathing fresh air. You're meeting other nice people. You get to engage with people that are hiking, snowshoeing, skiing, and you get to talk to them. You get to reach out. So that's, it's almost like a grassroots thing that you're working with.
Hi, my name is Julie Padilla. I'm the District Recreation Staff Officer on the Sandia Ranger District for the Cibola National Forest and National Grasslands. And I am born and raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and quite happy to be working for my home area. The Friends of the Sandia Mountain is a friends group that partners with the Sandia Ranger District on the Cibola National Forest. They perform an incredible amount of volunteer work for us. I think when I first started on the district, I would often hear the phrase FOSM, which is our acronym for Friends of the Sandia Mountain. FOSM is awesome, and I came to find out that they really are. They work across many resource areas, doing all kinds of work for us, from trails, clearing trails, maintaining trails, keeping them accessible for the public, to helping us with our restoration efforts by thinning, to restoring historic cabins and helping support a heritage program. They really work across multiple areas. Painting, putting new restroom roofs on that need repairing, where they work in multiple different resource areas, not just recreation. In the past 3 years alone, they've averaged about 15,000 volunteer hours a year. They contribute a tremendous amount of work. Right now, I think the national volunteer hour rate is about $28 an hour. So that's really about $430,000 a year that they're contributing. Of course, it's hard to put a value, a dollar value on the actual contributions, but they do a tremendous amount of work. Very astounded.
historically, well, we were founded in 1997, and we historically have been the volunteer arm of the Sandia Ranger District, which has one unit to the north of I-40 going up to Placitas geographically, and also the Cedro unit, which is south of I-40 and goes down to the Isleta Pueblo. FOSM is an organization that says, yes, we can. We never turn down a request. To me, it's impressive, and it's dynamic, and it really bonds us with the district. FOSM currently has 98 members, of which 28 of those are life memberships, which is pretty impressive for a volunteer organization. And FOSM has very little turnover from year to year compared to other volunteer organizations. Some volunteer organizations will have only a 50% renewal rate, whereas FOSM has about a 90% renewal rate.
These are the tools that we use, or some of the tools that we use in trail construction and trail maintenance. We get training from the Forest Service that's required to use chainsaws and crosscut saws. That's a crosscut saw over there. It's one full day of lecture, and then we have practice, and then we have to demonstrate in the forest that we can use these tools safely. This is the chainsaw. We use that to remove trees from trails or fell trees, hazard trees in picnic areas or parking lots where people have an expectancy of safety. Also, we use them in building a trail. You have to go through first and get the trees out. This is a pick mattock. You can see it's a pick on one side and a mattock on the other. And it's an excellent tool for building trails where you're digging the dirt and also having to move rocks. An axe, of course. When we fell trees, sometimes we put wedges behind the tree to make it fall over a certain direction, or cutting vegetation. Although now we try to minimize the use of swinging tools for safety reasons. We would use pruning saws, short saws with a curved blade. This is the Pulaski. Now this has an interesting history. A Forest Service ranger and firefighter in 1910 invented this, and I'm assuming that he welded onto an axe head, he welded a mattock that was invented as a firefighting tool, because you can use the mattock part to dig the vegetation away down to what's called mineral soil to make a fire line. Then you use the axe to cut roots and trees and branches. Chainsaw chaps, like cowboy chaps, you wear them like this. And this is a logger's hard hat. You've got ear protection and you've got a face screen. And this is a crosscut saw. This is a kind of special. It's obviously about, I think it's 5.5 feet long. It's narrow, and it's used horizontally to fell trees to reduce the friction. We use crosscut saws in the wilderness where we cannot use chainsaws. This is a rock bar, and it's used, this tip is used to, push it into the ground to move rocks. Or also, if you're digging a hole or a post hole or something like that, you can also use this to loosen the soil. So this is a fairly large tool, you might say. So I've been doing this since about 1970. So that's about 50 years of volunteering. So it's really been a major part of my life, in addition to family and church and work at Sandia National Labs. Constructing trail and maintenance of trail, especially maintenance, I think I call it instant gratification for what you can do. It doesn't take a lot of paperwork or anything. Well, it takes planning to get out there, but you come to the obstacle and you move it, and that's great.
Our volunteers don't do this to earn awards by any means, but it's always kind of nice to have, I guess, what you could call an attaboy, you know, for doing that kind of work. So it was just incredibly pleasing to have that done.
The hardest part sometimes can be the workout and the long days. The rewards are huge. You know, first of all, you have the camaraderie of like-minded individuals when you're out on a project. We have some fantastic discussions as we're walking along from one point to another, say to clear hazards from the trail. And another one, of course, is realizing that you're making a contribution to preserve this wonderful treasure that we have really in our backyards, the Cibola National Forest and the Sandia Mountains trails. And also, another reward is that there's hardly a time when we're out there working when we don't have passerbys greet us and say, "Hi, thank you for what you're doing." So just knowing that we're making that kind of a contribution is hugely intrinsically rewarding.
Look at the pandemic. What happened with the pandemic? We were told we had to stay home. Stay home, stay home, stay home. Well, what happens? You know, nobody wants to stay home all the time. I saw more people out hiking, skiing, and snowshoeing this year than ever before. And so, you know, people need to get out and get fresh air and get out in the woods. And to be part of that and to be part of that deal, it just feels good.
My favorite part about volunteering is the camaraderie with other volunteers. We have a wide variety of backgrounds. Somebody like Sam Beard, it's just enjoyable being out with him and learning from him. And he's an excellent teacher. So that's what I enjoy the most.
If they asked me about volunteering, the first words out of my mouth would be, do it. You know, you don't just talk about it, just get out and look. I think we all know volunteers are needed absolutely every place. If you're retired, you can find something to do. We happen to provide a volunteer opportunity to be outdoors and doing fun stuff. And when we're out doing our trail work, we run into people out there all the time. And we identify ourselves with, you know, who we are and what we do. And if they have any inkling of interest at all, and in fact, even if they don't, I always carry a little brochure about Friends of the Sandia Mountains. I explain to them, you know, what it is we do, and let them know there's a lot of different things. You don't have to necessarily do this. There's a lot of other things that we do. And if they ask, well, I'd like to do this, you know, we can provide training. The Forest Service provides training also.
Project announcements come out on a weekly basis, and all it takes to participate in a project is a willingness to work, and probably a good picnic lunch is a good idea too. FOSM actually provides the tools that are needed, and they provide personal protective equipment like you saw Sam demonstrating. A lot of us though, especially the ones who do the trail work, have our own tools that we prefer to use, the crosscut saws, other pruning tools. Our love of hiking is what enticed us to get involved in some way. And you know, even if you don't have a lot of time to volunteer, maybe you're a full-time employee someplace and are looking for weekend opportunities, if you're just out for a hike, one of the things that you can do is report to a website via email to what we call Cibola Trail Rangers. And if you happen to just be out hiking and you let us know that there's an obstruction on a trail someplace or some other kind of hazard, then that's something that we can put on our list of projects to get to.
Well, we have a website. The easiest way to find the website is just Google Friends of the Sandia Mountains. That's the way I do it. Information about our past programs and our upcoming programs on the website, so you can see what kind of program activities we have. There's also a way that you can download an application form and join FOSM.
I will be the first to say I've had the good fortune of being part of a lot of volunteer organizations over my lifetime, believe that. But I can honestly say I have never been associated with a group of volunteers who are more hardworking and dedicated than these people are. Spend a day with us and you'll see. The mountain is right here. You know, I grew up in Albuquerque and I've seen this mountain just about every day of my life. And it's here. It's amazing how many people haven't been up here. So we try to encourage folks, it's your mountain. Come up and enjoy it, please, you know.